Hi, this is Nate Brown, and this is a quick video on how to print a purchase order. In the last video, we showed you how to convert a requisition to a purchase order and then how to find it. In this one, we're going to pick up right from there, where we went and we found the PO we created for 3064 for flowers for Sandra. The only thing I've changed is I added a line here that says for training already, don't order, and that's just to make sure everybody who sees this later realizes that this wasn't a real purchase order. So what we see here is this is the header. So this is what's going to show up on the top of the purchase order. All these data fields will look like this, but when we print it out, it'll be a little bit prettier. And so we have the type of PO, the PO number, the buyer, the supplier order number, reference A and B, and this was from the requisition headers that we looked at previously. The delivery date, again, this was from the requisition header. Confirmed delivery date. So once you create the requisition and you place the order, the supplier typically sends back a confirmed delivery date, much like when you buy something for yourself, you get it on Amazon, they send you an email back saying you can expect this to ship on this date. So that's what we have there. And then below that we have the warehouse, and so I wanted to go to the 6000 building. Let's say that Sandy, who we're buying flowers for, let's say she works at the 6000 building, and so we want to have that there. That's all we really need, the purchase order headers. There's more tabs here, but you really don't need to get worried too much about that because most of it automatically generates. So let's go to order lines, and this is where the interesting stuff is. Apply all warehouse and delivery address code. So I change that there, and so I want to go 6000. So let's say yes. Now, some of this information is going to look similar to what was on the requisition, but it's a little bit different format. So you see the position, 10. Everything goes in 10, 20, 30s. So if we added another line, it would be a 20. And we do that for a couple reasons. Sometimes just so you can add a line immediately afterwards in case you need to do a negative line or a partial receipt or something to that nature. You'll see the item number, which was the CST number we put in at the beginning. The description that automatically goes with this. The information that we wrote in, the part number 12345, baby boy flowers. The fact that we want one each of them. For a price of $50, and the current delivery date is 12-10-12. So December 12th, 2010 is the day we want it. And you see this area here is just blank. If this was already received, it would have a date here, and it would have the date of when we physically received the good. So if you're the buyer and you get this and everything looks good, you can go ahead and print it. If something doesn't look good, say you call the supplier and you say, hey, I'm with Buyer-Ad, we're a big partner, we're a $2 billion company, and it's only going to go up from there, and we buy lots and lots of flowers for you. Do you have a corporate discount? And they say, sure, why didn't you say so? Let me give you 10% off. So we're great, we're feeling happy, we got 10% off, it's all in a day's work. So, but we want to capture that here because it needs to make sure it's accurate on the purchase order. So let's open up this PO. And then this will bring in this information here. And part number is good, not changing that. This information is good. What we are changing though is we can bring down the price. So we got a 10% discount, that's $5 on 50. So let's call it 45, and you have to hit tab, and that will change the price to $45. Now just be cognizant that if you increase the price, then you have to go back and get permission because you're spending more than you are authorized to spend. We had authorization through the requisition process to spend $50 on flowers. If suddenly we wanted to go back and spend $60 on flowers, you need to go get permission. But you can always pay less. So since we negotiated a discount, we can do that. You don't have to get concerned about any shipping charges or tax charges. Those get accounted for on the invoice, and finance takes care of those. AP takes care of those. So we can look at that, and that's fine. Go ahead and hit save and close. So we've updated the price. You can see it changed right here. The order balance, this is how much is outstanding there. And open balance, this accounts for lots of other POs that are open, so you can't really worry about that too much. And credit limit is not a function we really take advantage of in Bond, so you don't have to worry about that either. So let's say everything here looks good, and we want to be able to send the order to the supplier. The supplier needs a copy of the purchase order so they can fulfill the order. So what we need to do is you go to this button right here where it says print. You click on it, and you select this first one, print purchase orders. Okay. Some things will auto-generate, so you don't need to worry about any of these things. It'll auto-generate that we want this purchase order to this purchase order, so basically just one purchase order, the one we're looking at. Make sure it says all lines, or yeah, just make sure it says all lines. Leave all that the same. And here, sometimes it'll default to different things. I prefer to have it say eFax. So you just type in, if you type in D, it'll just display it much like we saw previously. It'll just be a screen, but you can't do anything with it. You can't really copy it. If you do eFax, it will email a PDF to you, and it'll auto-generate this file out.html. You don't have to worry about that so much. And if this is something you're going to do regularly and you don't feel like changing that D to eFax every time, these things over here save defaults. So let's say I change that to D. I can, if I had saved my default of eFax, which is why it popped up that way, I can click Get Defaults, and it goes back to what it was. Problem is, it changed the PO right there. So let me type in 3064, and you can see the number right here, 00356, and tab, and you see it automatically copied it over so that it is doing just the one purchase order. But it looks good from there, and you can just hit the print button. And lots of things just popped up. So important one, it says process completed, and that's a good news. And then for reasons of Bond being awkward, the screen we really wanted popped up behind something else. So I had to close that screen we're looking at, and I got to move the purchase order lines, and you get this thing, the fax email utility. And this is when we actually send it to the guy we want. So you can click how you want to send it. I have my defaults set to email, and under Window you can save your defaults and get your defaults. If you wanted to fax it directly to a supplier, you could click on fax and hit tab, and then you can click in a fax number. But we want to do email, and I want it to be a PDF, and it's going to go from me to me. And you can add more to the subject, or you can just leave it like this. The nice thing is from here, we're going to hit continue, and it's going to generate an email directly to us. And then from Lotus Notes, it's very easy to change the subject, very easy to add text. Doing it in Bond is very, very painful. Doing it in the actual email server, Lotus Notes, is much easier. So I highly recommend you do that. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. And it says body text should be included on emails. Do you want to add now? As we just said, we're going to send it to our email where it's so much easier to add text. If you ever want to play with it, go ahead and click that yes, and you can see how awkward it is. So we're just going to say no, and it's going to think for a minute. And now it's done. So we have just created a purchase order and printed it. So I'm going to open up my mail for a second here and refresh it. And so you see purchase order here, and this calls it fileout.pdf. Click on that. We're going to open this attachment. And it opens up. And so this is what our purchase order form looks like. You see all the header information that we created. You see the, let me scroll in just so you can read it better. You see the part number, the general expense item, and then the additional information that we wrote for the supplier. So this is what the supplier will see and know exactly what you're ordering, and the price that we're ordering for it. And if you scroll down, we're going to scroll down to page 2. These are all our standard terms and conditions. So that goes along with the purchase order. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and close this. From here, you could take this email that you just got, and you can simply forward it directly to the sales rep of the supplier or directly to the supplier, and you have just placed an order. So the next video, we'll talk about how to add additional lines if you need to order something else, or if this is on a blanket purchase order where you have authority to spend up to $5,000 and you order a little bit at a time. That's when you'd use PO lines. And we'll also talk about how to receive these lines. So thank you very much.